Hi guys, I'm back in my house. I've been traveling nonstop, and if you guys follow me on social, you know I was in Europe and then I got really sick. So it feels so good to just be back home, getting settled, organized, and filming again. So I hope you guys have been awesome. I have a bunch of new makeup here and some makeup that I already use, and I have my newest launch, Seal the Deal Loose Setting Powders in 3 shades. So we'll use that today, and I'll kind of show you how I like to apply it, go through the different shades, when you'd want to use each one, and all that kind of stuff. I tried to film this intro and my memory card was full, which I didn't know, so I do have my foundation on. I just put my Woke Up Like This foundation on, and I sprayed my beauty sponge with this Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist because since I've been back, my skin's been really dry, and I actually like to look a little bit oily throughout the day, which I know most people don't, and that doesn't sound very good, but I just like when my skin looks super juicy and luminous and kind of greasy. I know that's crazy. So this is already a pretty dewy formula. If you are oily, you wouldn't want to do this, but if you love that really glowy, dewy look to your skin, I highly recommend using a luminous dewy skin mist. You can also just use like a straight up water mist just to add some more hydration and press it into the skin. But I really love this. I think it's a beautiful combination, and it just really gives a nice, healthy, glowy, dewy look. Now I'm gonna go in with concealer, and I have a new one I haven't tried. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer, and I have 2 shades here, Nude and Golden Beige. Nude is the lighter one, so I think I'll try a little bit of that just to brighten and just see if that's not too light. I'm just gonna go light today with my concealer. I don't even think I'm gonna do any here just because I've been doing it just under my eyes and then blending it down. I feel like it's unnecessary to go in with that full triangle because I try to keep it pretty sheer under my eyes just to prevent too much product buildup. So I kind of like blending it down from my eyes onto the cheek area instead of doing a full blown layer. So I'm just gonna do it under the eyes and the chin, maybe on the lids. So we started our trip in London, and London's one of my favorite cities in the world. So my husband and I just always kind of kick off a lot of European trips in London for a couple days because we both love it so much. So that was really special, and I had an exciting meeting about UK launching Lawless there, so stay tuned for that. I just have to work on all my EU compliance, but once that's done, I should be launching at the end of this year. So we did that, and then we went to this place in Portugal called the Algarve, and it's this gorgeous beach region where people that live in Lisbon go on holiday. So it's not like a city vibe, but it's kind of like the beaches of Portugal. So we had the most relaxing, amazing time, and I don't really relax like ever, let's just be honest. But when I'm on vacation, I'm always still like, sometimes it even stresses me out that I'm like unplugged, but I have to say, it was the most relaxed I've been in a really, really long time. Like, I am so happy that I was able to just like sink into the void a little bit and chill while we were there because it was so beautiful and so needed and just such an amazing time with my husband. So after that, well, we did one more night in London, and then we came home and I got food poisoning on the plane home, which is like basically my worst travel fear realized. I am not talking like, oh, you know, I threw up in the bathroom briefly. Like, I'm talking projectile vomit all over myself, my seat, the curtain covering the bathroom because I couldn't make it to the bathroom, the aisle. I mean, you guys, when I say that this was mortifying and traumatic, I don't think it could be any more mortifying and traumatic. Like, if I ever have kids and travel with screaming babies, I will be prepared now. Like, that will be nothing compared to what went down on this flight. It was awful. So the crew was really nice, cleaned up, like disinfected my area, was just super understanding. But I got home and I was like bedridden for 3 days. I could not keep solids down, fluids down. I was throwing up water. So that was just really draining, and that was last week. So this week I'm feeling so much better. I'm back to life. I'm a real human being again. So yeah, that was brutal. And then before that I was in Fiji, so I don't think I've even filmed since then. So it's just been a really crazy busy summer and I'm kind of excited to power down a little bit. Okay, so back to makeup. Now that we have our concealer on, we're gonna powder. Okay, this is what I've been most excited about. So while I was away, Seal the Deal Loose Translucent Setting Powders launched, and I'm so excited about this because you guys have been asking me what powders I've been using in my videos, and I've really been using these for like the last, 6 months or so exclusively, but I haven't really been able to talk about them. So they're talc-free, and if you guys have been following the Johnson & Johnson lawsuit, they have to pay a record like $4 something billion for deaths and diseases associated with talc ingestion. This is really, really important to me, and I actually had a couple of other products planned, and I moved this up because I really, really wanted to get a talc-free translucent setting powder out. I think talc is a really increasingly scary ingredient. We're just learning more and more about the detrimental effects of ingesting talc, and so with baking and the heavy application of powder that we do now, I really felt that it was important to get a talc-free setting powder out on the market in my line. So these are talc-free, and the reason I have 3 shades is I really don't feel like translucent powders are one size fits all. Yes, they're translucent, but they always have some sort of tint or cast to them, and even me, and I'm not that dark, I feel like translucent powders can dull me out sometimes. So I really wanted a golden one for deeper women that feel like translucent powders leave that white cast, lighten their skin tone, or just kind of make them look dull. I wanted a brightening one with a peachy pink undertone to really help correct dark circles under the eyes and kind of give a little bit more of that color correction effect than just a flat translucent powder. And then I've got the classic translucent, which is just like that straight up ivory, normal translucent that you're used to from most brands. So those are the 3 shades, Brightening, Classic, and Golden. And I'm gonna use all 3 today because I've been using all 3 for months, and I just wanna show you guys how you can use all 3 to really shade and light the face and give a really beautiful effect, because powder can sometimes, when you use all one shade, tend to just look really flat, and then you have to go in with your contour and bronzer and blush to really bring dimension back to the skin. But I like to start to build that dimension from the setting phase. So I'll go ahead and show you guys how I use these. But first I'll just kind of talk to you about the packaging. It comes in this little round sifter here, and this is really straightforward. It just comes with your cap. When you do get it, there will be like a little sticker that you'll just peel off. It's just a really old school. It's got the holes in here, nothing in the lid. I know that a lot of powders coming out have had that mesh kind of pop top to keep the powder in, and then it plugs the holes so that it doesn't spill out powder. There's ones that have the mesh that you can dip into, like that kind of flexible bendy mesh that without a pop top. Some have a kind of like stopper in the lid that looks like a little sort of tree stump. But for me, I just wanted to go old school. When there's a mesh sifter, sometimes I can't get the amount of powder out that I want. It's much harder because the mesh holes are much finer and I have to sit there and dump it really, really hard. When there's that thing in the lid, that stopper, it kind of doesn't give me a place to dump the powder into and then dip my brush or sponge into it. So I kind of just wanted to keep it simple, go back to basics. I just like an old school sifter. It just does the job for me. All the other fancy little mechanisms to keep the powder in actually just kind of get in my way. So I went really old school with it. When you get this, you have 1.05 ounces of product. It may be a little bit hard for you to dump the product out because I did not leave any space. So it will be full to the top when you get your powder. For me, this was really important. I was really frustrated. A lot of brands I noticed leave a lot of space, and I would always kind of feel like I was running through powder super quick. So I felt really strongly about filling this thing to the top, and when you dump it out, it will get easier as you use it because there will be more space for it to come out, but it is filled to the top, so just know that if you're having a hard time getting it out and you're having to like dump it out extra hard in the beginning, that's why. I am going to show you guys how to apply with both a brush and a sponge. You guys know I love to use my damp beauty blender to really press powder into the skin, but I'll show you how to do it with a brush as well so that you can compare and see how whatever method you like to use works. So the first thing I'll do is set under my eyes, and for that I like to use brightening. Brightening has a peachy pink undertone, and that is to really help just give that extra color correction for any shadows or dark circles in here, because the peachy pink is the opposite on the color wheel to like purple blue, so it really does help to counteract that and remove those shadows and give that lit from within brightening effect. So I always like to make sure I have no creasing under my eyes, because if you do have some creases from your concealer and you set those, they will be stuck there all day. And then I'm just gonna take some brightening on the back of my sponge. As you can see, it's got that slight light peachy pink undertone. And I'm just going to press this into my under eye area and down the sides of my nose. I'm also gonna take it onto my eyelid and then just really blend it out. So as you guys can see the difference, this side just looks much more bright and awake and fresh and youthful, where this side, the unset side, still has a little bit of that darkness there. So just a really nice brightening effect that smooths out the skin. One thing I love about this powder, do you see just how smooth it looks? It's got this really beautiful blurring effect that I just find to be so beautiful on the skin. So I'm gonna smooth out my creases there, and I'll show you how to use a brush with this. So I'm gonna go with this Kat Von D number 25 brush. I really like the shape of this brush because it's got this tapered edge that just sort of fits really, really well into this area. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some powder on the brush and just pat it under the eye. And when you apply this powder with a brush, you don't wanna swipe, you wanna press at the beginning just to place that powder. And then as you blend it out, then you'll start to sweep. So as you guys can see, both sides look much brighter. They're very, very, very illuminated, and I just love that because I feel like it's so helpful to have that extra layer of brightness under the eyes after concealer to really just help awake the skin, especially on days where I like really need some help. The powder just kind of is that extra layer of like, oh, now I look awake. Because sometimes concealer doesn't really do it for me unless I go super light with it, and I don't always want to do that. So now I'm going to set the rest of my face, and for that I like to use Classic. And Classic is just this ivory yellow, just sort of traditional translucent powder. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and use a mixture of my sponge and my brush. So for the T-zone, I'm gonna really use my sponge so I can really press it in. And I'm just gonna set my forehead, down the center of my nose and the sides of my nose, and my chin area. I also really like to set those smile lines so that they don't crease throughout the day and get makeup stuck in them. Do you guys see how much smoother that looks? It's insane. I just love how much it blurs my skin and just kind of gives this airbrushed poreless effect. It's amazing. So then I'm gonna take my brush, and this is a Morphe E41. It's just a big kind of like fluffy ball domed brush. And I'm going to dip it into some of the Classic translucent powder and kind of dust off the excess. And then to further dust off, I'm gonna just set it into the cap. And then I'm just gonna set the rest of my face. It's really important to set your face if you are going to be going in with powder products. So I have drier skin. Some days if I want to use cream products like a cream blush or cream bronzer, it doesn't matter if I set my face because those products will still go on beautifully. If you are going to go in with a powder bronzer or powder blush or powder highlight, they will stick to your foundation or any wet product you have on your face, and it'll be really hard to blend them out. So having a layer of powder between your wet products and your powder products really helps those powder contours, blushes, bronzers, and highlights to glide over something much more smoothly and blend much more seamlessly. So that's why I set my face every single day, because it's rare that I use fully cream products on a daily basis unless I'm really like on vacation and going for that super glowy luminous look. So now that the entire face is set, I'm gonna show you how I use Golden. So golden is the deeper shade, and this is such a gorgeous shade. I worked really, really hard to make it not too pigmented or too deep so that it could be used by deeper women under the eyes to brighten, but also pigmented enough and warm enough to give a really nice bronzy, glowy look to the skin, especially if you're fair. This would be an amazing bronzer for you because it's not as pigmented and as muddy looking on fair skin as a traditional bronzer. It's much more sheer than that. So it just gives this nice warm veil over the skin that I am obsessed with. I use this every day and I love it so much. So for this, I'm gonna go ahead and use something a little bit smaller. This is a NARS brush. I don't know what it's called. It's like that Kumidori type of brush. Just any sort of smaller, round, fluffy brush that is flexible that you can just really kind of dust on to the skin. So I'm gonna take just a little bit of golden, tap off the excess, and then I'm gonna swirl around in the cap to even further remove product. So I just have a very light sheer wash of it on the brush. And then I'm just gonna go in around the perimeter of my face to sort of add dimension back in and give that nice, warm, glowy veil. And I like to start at the tops of my forehead, kind of bring it under the cheekbones and onto the cheeks. Places where the sun would naturally hit and where your skin would naturally have that warmth. And see how subtle it is? It's just a very, very light bronzy color, but it just kind of brings life back into the skin after you've set all over with one powder and it's looking a little bit flat. So for me, I think that's just a really great tip, and it's also like a great pre-bronzer because it can be a great transition instead of just going straight in with bronzer on powdered skin that's got this like sort of all matte one color. You've sort of started the process so that the bronzer has something to blend seamlessly into. So it's this nice gradient and the skin just has this overall three-dimensional beautiful look. So that's what it looks like if you want to just do a light wash of golden all over the skin. I'm actually going to use it as my bronzer and contour today because I'm not going to be contouring, but I am going to concentrate the bronzer in the contour areas just to help sculpt. So I'm just going to take more into the cap and dust it off and then keep going in. Okay, so I'm really happy with that, and I just think it looks so smooth, so poreless and airbrushed, and that's why I just love this powder. It has a mica base, and mica is much more lightweight than talc, so even if you don't care about like talc being bad for you and you're not avoiding talc, it's still just a more flattering ingredient on the skin because it's less dense, it's more feathery and airy, so it's not gonna look cakey and crepey and sink into those fine lines and make you look older, which a lot of powders tend to do. That's why as women age, they stop using so much powders because it can really accentuate fine lines. So mica is a much more skin-friendly ingredient, and then there's also cornstarch in here, which is just also a really lightweight, kind of airy whipped ingredient. So I just love this powder so much. I can't say enough good things about it. This may be like my favorite launch ever just because I feel like it's really hard to find powders that are flattering on the skin, and I love this one. Now let's move on to blush. Today I'm going to be using this GRWM blush duo in the shade Flirt. This one is Kiss Me and this one is Touch Me. It's just a really nice kind of peachy, pinky, fresh looking blush, and I feel like I just haven't done a pink cheek in a while and I really, really want to. So I'm gonna take my angled Sephora 49 Pro Angled Blush Brush, and I'm gonna go into that darker shade, which is Kiss Me, and just kind of blush up the cheeks. And I've been applying blush further back, not as much on the apple, but further back, and I feel like that really helps lift the face and kind of like give that sort of tighter look. So I've been really concentrating the blush back there and then just kind of sweeping any excess onto the apples of the cheeks. And I really like the way that it looks. And then I'm gonna take this lighter shade and I'm gonna put that on the apples. Okay. So now I'll go into the eyes, and I think I'm gonna do a kind of neutral look, but still smoky. What else is new? Are you surprised? I'm gonna use this new Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I think that this is such a great palette. I got it in the mail Urban Decay did send this to me, and when I opened it, I was like, this is just such a smart arrangement of shades because it's got all the neutrals, golds, champagnes, browns, but it's got some pops of color, but they're wearable. So it's got like these greens and teals, these purples and reds and oranges, but they're all such wearable pops of color that I feel this would be a great travel palette because you kind of have all the basics, and then if you're in the mood to spice it up, you can. So I think that what I'll do first is go all over the lid with this shade here, this cream shade called Breakaway.
I feel we're close enough. I wanna lock in your love.
Next, I'm gonna go into this sort of peachy shade here called Still Shot. I'm just putting this all over the crease as our transition shade. Okay, so we've got that Still Shot shade in the crease. And now we're gonna go ahead and go into this shade here called Baja, this orange shade. And I'm gonna take that on a more tapered brush to really get it into the crease. And this is gonna go a little bit lower than Still Shot. These shadows are blending really, really nicely. I'm very, very happy with this palette so far. Now I'm gonna take this shade here called Hell Ride, this sort of burgundy, plummy shade. I think it'll go really nice with the peachy transition and then the orange. I'm just gonna place that, focusing it mostly on the outer V. And now I'm gonna take that brush that I had that orange Baja shade on and just blend out the edges. Okay. Now I think all over the lid, I am going to take this metallic gold shade called Stranded. And I'm just gonna go in with my finger. I feel like metallics always apply better with my finger. And I'm taking that about halfway across the lid, not all the way to the end because I don't want to cover up that work that we did on the outer V. That's pretty. And then I'm going to go back in with the brush that I had that burgundy Hell Ride shade on, take a little bit more, and just mix those edges where the metallic meets the burgundy. And then I'm gonna go back with that initial fluffy brush that we used for the transition shade and go over everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my liner and lashes off camera, and then I'll come back, we'll finish up the lower lash line, do eyebrows. You guys have been asking me why I don't do my eyebrows in the videos, and I honestly just thought it was boring. Like, for me, it's like the last thing that I want to watch somebody do is sit there and go. But you guys want to see it, so I will come back to do the brows once I have the lashes and liner done. Okay, so now we have our lashes on. These are the Velour Fluff and Wispy lashes. They're a silk lash. I love them. They're definitely dramatic, so if you're not a normal lash wearer, these might be a bit much for you, but I just love them. I think that they are so fluffy and just pretty and fluttery, and I love them. So yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and do the lower lash line. I am going to take this Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliner, and I'm just gonna line my lower waterline. And then to smoke that out, I am going to take this really rich brown shade called Punk in the Born to Run palette, and I'm just gonna take this flat definer brush and just wiggle it along my lower lash line to just kind of diffuse that black line and make it less harsh. And then for a fun pop of color on the lower lash line, I really want to take this purple shade called Guilt Trip. It's like this metallic purple, and I just kind of want to use it. So I'm gonna take this tiny little pencil brush and just dip it into there and smoke it along the lower lash line. take that brush that we had the Burgundy Hell Ride shade on and just further diffuse that. I'm gonna put some mascara on my lower lash line. This is the Stila Huge Extreme Lash Mascara. I love this mascara. I've used this mascara for a long time, and I just think it's like a really good volumizing mascara if you like that kind of clumpy lash look. Okay, so now we're gonna do the brows, and you guys have been requesting this so much, so I'm gonna do them for you. I am not super picky about the pencils that I use. Sometimes I use a super fine tip, sometimes I use one like this. This is the Benefit Goof Proof Brow Pencil, and this one actually has a little bit more of a thicker slanted tip to it, so it's not a super fine point. But for me, on days where I'm trying to go fast, this is actually better because it covers more surface area. The biggest tool for me is the spoolie. I cannot do my brows without the spoolie. I like a natural feathery look. I'm not into the block brow, so I constantly am doing this as I'm filling them in to feather out the strokes and make sure that it looks really fluffy. So I will go ahead and just start filling them in, and you guys can see what I do. So I start always at the bottom, and I draw sort of the bottom in, and then I just sort of flick up for the top. I don't like having a straight line on the top, so I try to just flick up at the top and fill mostly at the bottom. Okay, so if you guys can see the difference, this is just definitely more defined, but it's nothing too much different than my natural shape. And then when I get to the front, that's where I like to flip this little slanted tip to the side and flick it up. And then I take the spoolie and I just comb up. I like my brows to be a little bit lighter in the front so that it's not like a harsh start to them or like a block. I like that it's just sort of faded out and a little bit lighter. So that's one brow done. I'll go ahead and do the other brow. Okay, so that's the brows done and all filled in, and I always, always, always set with a gel. I need brow gel. My brows get a little bit crazy throughout the day, and if I don't set them, it's just not cute. They're kind of like all over the place. So I am using my new favorite brow gel, the Hourglass Arch Brow Volumizing Fiber Gel. And I love this because it gives a little bit of texture to the brows, so it's not just like locking them in place like a true clear like Anastasia style gel. It's sort of like accentuating how hairy they are, like it's giving it some texture, but it does still hold them in place really, really well. So I'm using the shade Warm Brunette, and it's got this really nice flat side, so you can like comb up that's not rounded, and then the other side is rounded. So I just like to run it through, kind of brushing up to really accentuate how feathery they are. And I always like a tinted one just because I feel like it kind of gives some added coverage on any areas you may have missed filling in, and I just think it's a nice added layer of pigment. So there you go. It's really, really simple. I don't do like the whole pomade thing. I don't really carve out my brows with concealer unless I mess up. I just like that sort of natural, fluffy, my brows but better kind of look. So I just really follow my natural shape and just kind of fill in any gaps and bald areas and make sure that they look full and fluffy and frame my eyes. So yeah, that's the mystery of the brows. Now you guys know what I use, how I do them. I will do them with a different product in another video to show you like how I use a little fine tip. I really like the Anastasia Brow Wiz. I used to use that like exclusively, and now sometimes I just use these thicker brow pencils just to make it go a little faster, but it really, to me, comes down to the stroke and the spoolie and just really making sure I'm combing it out. So I'm not so picky about what pencils I use. So yeah, now let's go ahead and highlight and do the lip, and then we'll finish up this look. So for highlighter today, I'm gonna use an oldie but a goodie, the Anastasia So Hollywood Illuminator. This is a gorgeous gold shade. This was like one of the first highlighters I ever bought, and it will always have a really special place in my heart. It's just really flattering and I love it. So I am actually going to take a brush today, and this is my new obsession, is the Sephora Little Pro Fan Detail 62. How cute is this little guy? And it just really is perfect for highlighting. And I've been using my beauty blender to highlight until I saw this brush and I wanted to try it, and I'm obsessed. So I'm just gonna take some highlight here, tap it off, and go ahead and highlight the tops of the cheekbones. And then I'm gonna take it on to the temple area above the brow, the other cheek, down the center of my nose, tip of the nose, cupid's bow. I'm gonna take a little bit on the brow bone. And then for the inner tear ducts, I am going to use my new inner corner highlight obsession. This is a Tarte Chrome Paint, which is like a super foiled shadow. I'm gonna take this little tiny Sigma shader inner corner brush, and this is like super reflective and foiled, and I've been really liking it on the inner corner. It's just super duper bright. So I've got a little bit on my brush here. I'm gonna spray it with the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist just to make sure it really sticks. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the inner corner. So now that we're highlighted and glowy and bronzy, I think we've completed this makeup look as far as the face and the eyes go, so let's go and do the lip. I am going to do a peachy nude today, shocker, because I feel like it will just really complement all of the tones that we have going on. I'm first gonna go in with this Milani Color Statement Lip Liner in the shade Nude. It's just a really nice kind of mauvey, neutral nude shade. And I'm just gonna line my lips. I feel like the key to a really great nude lip is lining, because if you're my skin tone or darker, a nude lip can really get lost on your face and kind of melt into your skin, and you really need that definition so your lip doesn't get lost and it's defined, especially my upper lip. I feel like if I don't line my upper lip with a pale nude, I look kind of crazy. So that's a great liner. It's drugstore, super affordable. I actually got it on my trip because I ran out of liner, and I just ordered this from Beauty Bay and they delivered it to my hotel. So it's a great liner. That's again Nude from Milani. And then I'm gonna go in with Leo from Lawless. It's sort of different from Cameron in the sense that it's still a pale nude, but it's more peachy and warm compared to Cameron, which is more pinky and cool. So I'm really feeling some warm tones today, and I think that this will be a beautiful shade. Okay, so I'm gonna go change my top, fix my hair, and I will be right back. Okay guys, so this is the completed look. I hope that you like it, and I hope that you enjoyed getting ready with me today. I missed you guys so much, and it just feels really, really good to be back in my space and filming and playing with makeup again. So I will leave all the information for Seal the Deal setting powders down below. I'm just living for them right now, and I'm so happy I can finally be able to share them with you guys. I think that trying to cut talc out of your makeup routine is a really good direction to go, and I'm definitely trying to cut talc out of all the products that I use. And this powder has just really changed the game for me because it gives my skin a really flawless, poreless airbrush look that powders usually don't. So I'm just so happy that they're finally out and that I can finally share them with you guys. They're available on lawlessbeauty.com, and they will be available on Sephora.com on September 12th. So yeah, let me know below what videos you guys want to see coming up now that I'm kind of home and back to filming. Fall is right around the corner, which is my favorite time of year. And you know how I love my warm tones and all those fall burgundies and cranberries and oranges and caramel tones. So it's kind of my favorite makeup time of the year because I can really do all those warm fall looks. My birthday is around the corner. My 1-year wedding anniversary is around the corner. So It's just a really fun time of year and I just can't wait for it to cool down a little bit and get into like cozy fall season. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are. If you do recreate this look, tag me on social media so I can connect with you there and check it out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!